Let me fix this. Maybe I can get this up. But then, oh, hey, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? I had my mic muted, but and it sounds, oh, okay, cool. Um, anyway, so I'm just going to get winding. Sorry. Is there any way I can? I'm just gonna delete forever. Delete forever. Delete that one, YouTube, whatever. All right. So yeah, I also am winding this recycled cotton yarn, which is cool and has this like nice texture, but also feels really sturdy. So basically, I'm just gonna follow this path until I have 159 parallel threads, and doing a cross on both the top and the bottom, because that's the way I like to wind warp. I need to think about how I want to warp this loom. I am more used to warping it back to front, so I'd start back there, wind it onto the beam, and then thread it. I have done it front to back too, and it's a different process. I feel like I've just done back to front more, so it's just that workflow for me is now more natural. Um, but both ways are perfectly fine. I forgot to ask the person who I bought this loom from what method they preferred to use on it, but then again, it also been a while since they had used the loom, so maybe they wouldn't have really had an answer or their preference could have changed. So here, just need to make sure I'm alternating the yarns correctly. So down here is where the cross, well, there's a cross down here and a cross up here, and basically by the cross, that is the weaver's cross, where your yarns are, you have a bunch of yarns lined up in parallel and they're just alternating directions. And that is what lets you really keep the yarns in order. That way you can tell odds and evens apart really well, and then you can also know if you're picking them out in the correct sequence. It's kind of one of those tricks. It's probably like centuries old. By the way, I am kind of on a time limit. I'm just going to stay on here and wind until one of my roommates comes back, because she is going to a feed store right now, which are not closed because they are essential businesses. And we're getting chicks. We're getting chickens and ducks. I don't know how many of each, but that's going to be really exciting. I haven't tried playing any background music on this yet. I am using my computer's mic, so if I were to maybe play music or a podcast on my phone, my computer mic would also pick that up. So if that would be interesting to folks, just let me know. I can play around with that. But yeah, yay chickens and ducks. And we will be protected from people hoarding eggs. Come on, people. Why'd you pick that being a hoard? Well, why are we hoarding anything at all? But eh, I was able to get normal eggs at the grocery store today, which was not today. Sorry, Monday. Um, but yeah, for the week before, it was really hard to find eggs. That was cleared out. Wondering what else. Might as well like what other projects I could just get started anyways. Just have a full homestead by the end of the quarantine. I know one of my colleagues in my department makes his own kimchi, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really good idea because I think I was just running through my head of like, okay, like grains, like so starches and carbs are pretty easy to kind of produce on your own. Hey. All right, thanks. Have a good rest of your day, Ray. Um, yeah, it's cool to just like kind of share space with you in this limited manner in this way. Um, but yeah, kimchi would be a really good way to have kind of a non-perishable form of fiber, but also like a lot of probiotic uh just benefits and stuff. So that'd be real cool. Um, I probably don't really want to stink up my fridge with that, so that's just a pipe dream right now. Maybe I can get into pickling first. Oh yeah, I'm just every time I lay down the yarn, I'm not putting a lot of tension on this. You see there's some slack here, but it's just enough tension so it doesn't sag. If I were to put too much tension, that would actually strain these pegs on the board, which um, would just pull them in. I wouldn't be worried. It could actually warp the wood of the board, but also just in the short term, in terms of the yarns, because the pegs would slant in, the yarns that you would wind towards the top would be shorter, and then your yarns wouldn't be the same length. And that is the whole point of all of this apparatus for weaving. And this isn't even the weaving part, this is just warping, which is it's like if you're a weaver, you have to be down for warping and setting up your equipment. But all of this equipment was basically developed to prevent tangles and allow you to set up hundreds or thousands of yarns that are the same length, same tension, in the same order, all in parallel in your loom. And yeah, in exactly the order that you want it because you don't want them to cross because that would twist up your fabric and not it wouldn't weave properly. But also if you keep them in order, then they will turn out in the pattern that you were designing from the start. I'm not really designing for this. I'm just going to follow someone else's pattern. Um, I guess not really a pattern. I used that pattern book and I'm using it as a template for like, okay, what fabric, how do I get a fabric of like this width that's going to work? So I'm probably not going to get all 159 threads on here, even though I've been keeping the tension pretty slack. Probably eventually once I get past here, the pegs will still bend in a bit, so that's should be fine. I'll just take it off and kind of make it a bundle. And I'll probably have to do a couple of bundles, but let's see how many yarns fit on the warping board. So I need 159. And I know some people prefer to wind all their work in one sitting because that way you can also be more sure that like between days your tension isn't changed because that's I don't know. I find that pretty cool about handcraft that yeah, you're however you're feeling that day, it shows up in your work. Um, Not in any bad or good way, just it's just a fact. And I think that's the nature of handcraft and having a human touch. Um, yeah, you can see I have some unevenness, but I'm also winding a pretty short warp, so it shouldn't be a huge deal. I think I got this and I'm like, wow, this is going to be so much easier than winding my lab's loom. And my lab, which I won't have access to for who knows how long. This is closed indefinitely. We have a TC2 digital jacquard loom, which is this big metal beast. And we don't even have that many modules for it compared to, say, like an art school where people want a high density of yarn so that they can do um, really elaborate and fine designs. We haven't bought any extra modules for it, so we only have say like 2 modules deep in the machine versus like some places have like 7 modules deep. And that means that we only need 30 that means that our loom uses 30 yarns per warp yarns or ends per inch. Compare that to this loom, which will have 8 ends per inch. But then if you go up to like 5 or 7 modules, you can have like hundreds of yarns per inch. And so even with our fairly limited setup in because it's also a newer lab. Even with our fairly limited setup on campus, when we warp that loom, we still have to wind 1,320 yarns, and with each time we also try to wind a longer warp. So our most recent warp, which is sad because we just got that up and running, we wound 40 yards on there. So you do the math. 1,320 times 40 yards. That's how many how much yarn? I don't know. Um, and then this is like going to be 159 ends versus over less than 3 yards. So yeah, a lot more manageable. So after warping that, I was like, yeah, I can. This is going to be no sweat. Um, it's nice to like actually wind the yarns. Yeah, to wind that loom, we actually instead of God, could you imagine winding? Well, one, we don't have a board big enough to wind 40 yards on, so we actually basically had a large spool that we were cranking the yarn onto. It's yeah, again, all these tools just developed so that you could wind large amounts of yarn without them tangling or twisting. And tension is all key. I really should count how many yarns I have. All right, 159 is, yeah, okay. I'm gonna stick my yarn down here, just anchor it here. So, let's see. All right, I'm gonna count how many here. 12, 16, 20, 21 times 2, 42, 41. All right. So about a quarter of the way there. I'm gonna see if I can fit about half of the warp in each bundle. Okay. I said I would fill it up to like here, but I'm gonna try and maybe fill it up within an inch or a couple centimeters of the end. I know I have friends who are in Canada and Europe and reasonable metric using countries, so I will try to talk measurements in both US imperial and metric just because I don't know, maybe as someone in tech, that would also just be a useful thing to practice. I definitely found that this past summer when in my lab we were working with a weaver in residence who is from Finland, and I was definitely like more actively mentally converting to metric to just, you know, make communication go a little more smoothly, especially when we were talking about technical specifications. So to make the cross, I'm basically going in a figure eight around bottom pegs. I try to always go in the same direction, but no, if I go in the wrong direction a couple times, that's a recoverable mistake. I was gonna wind her yesterday, but I ended up just staying up late and watching Bon Appetit videos. I actually don't know how much is on this cone. I should get an estimate. Definitely enough for this work. Getting a little bit tighter. All right, so looking good. I really like the texture of this yarn. gonna count a number of wraps again. All I do to anchor down here is wrap it around a couple times, twist up a loop, twist that a couple times, put around the peg, tighten. And that seems to keep things under tension pretty well. To 45. Right, I'm up to 70 ends. Another trick I could do is also packing down the ones I've already wound. So right now I have 35, 70 ends wound on. It's a little less than half of 159. So yeah, I think I could fit everything on here. So it's been a while since I've used an actual warping board since we've been doing so many other kinds of setups. So take this and just compress it. What's that? And this. Press your way down. So that was just to make more room on the peg. We'll see. So yeah, it looks like the YouTube stream was not working, but actually, okay, so thinking about it, the restream stuff, I think is is fine. It's once I get it set up, it's not that much overhead on my end, and it just also basically means I get free backups in different parts of the internet. So yeah, right now I just have the Facebook stream on my personal profile working and Twitch. And last time when the stream crashed, I'm pretty sure that was OBS, Open Broadcaster Software's fault because I had switched back from screen sharing to my camera and something happened, but that's okay. But now I'm glad that I have Twitch running. So last time Twitch was not working because I had to manually set the bit rate lower so that it would be guaranteed to fall within Twitch's um, Twitch's bit rate limit. Um, it's good to know I can do higher bit rates. And then Twitch's saved recording is higher quality than Facebook's. Also easier to actually directly download. Facebook's download link was not working um, because Facebook was not a platform built specifically for live video feeds. And with Twitch, I can just download the recording and then upload that to YouTube. So I started streaming this for my friends who said that this would be a cool process to, I don't know, kind of follow along with. But I'm also wondering, like, just beyond the recording during the actual stream, if there's something I can do better, like, yeah, have music play. So what I figured was on my end, I mean, my benefit is I feel like I have someone kind of co-working in the space with me, among like kind of ADHD management techniques. There's a technique called body doubling that kind of is, yeah, if you need to do a task that requires focus or repetition that is hard for someone with ADHD to focus on, you can try to get a body double in the room. And that sounds weird, but literally, like, if I need a body double for cleaning, I've invited friends over to just chill up here with me while I'm like, hey, bring your laptop, bring whatever else you need to, and if you want to work, but you also want, like, if you were just working from home and you wanted a change of scenery, then you can come over here. I will make you tea, food, whatever, and just sit there while I clean my room. Seems to be a, I think they've been pretty happy with that, their end of the deal. You watch my tension. I wonder if anyone else is warping a loom at home. Be nice to have a little like remote craft session. I read these stories of historically how warping would be a pretty social activity, especially if you're wanting to longer warp. Even if it was just like, someone grabbing your kids and it's like, hey, look, help me count this. I imagine it'd be a really nice, like, collaborative task. After this, I'm going to count again. It's getting it. Mm, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 53. 53 times 2 would be 53 times 2 would be 106. All right, I am almost there. I think I can really fit 106. I think I can fit the last 53 ends on that. Oh, hey, Greta. Sorry, what were you replying to? You'd like that for what? Um, yeah, if people are replying to something that I'm like mumbling, or rambling, then I'm not really sure. Yeah, if people could like repeat part of that in the messages. I don't know. Maybe okay, I'll go back and rewatch the social. Social. Okay, yeah. Thanks. Sorry about that, Greta. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, like, so everyone affiliated with my university has a Zoom account, so we've definitely been using it just to like remotely hang out with friends. And yeah, in the past I've been part of kind of like virtual crafting circles, but yeah, I think definitely I'm in a pretty good position to at least like get the word out there. Oh, cervically warping was a social. Yeah, I need to do more research on that. There also might be a few seconds of lag between me saying something and me getting the message, or basically me saying something, you typing in something in the comments, and then me seeing that comment and then me responding. So there's some delay, like we're in space and there's a few seconds of travel time between the planetary radio station, and the moon mission. um, okay, so I'm gonna push more of these yarns down. Push that as far down as it will go. If anyone's curious about weaving, there's a lot of tools you can DIY. I mean, if you see here, this warping board that I'm using, um, well, the person who sold me the loom threw it in as part of the deal, but it's pretty much DIY'd from a picture frame and some dowels. And any scrap wood or even like a chair lying around, if you string up a bunch of yarns in parallel, you've made yourself a little loom. All right, 53 more yarns. Let's do it. And I'm also realizing, because I wanted an odd number of ends, And this is much easier. It's pretty, I mean, I guess I could end at the bottom. It's just kind of weird because you naturally start at the top and one zig this way is 1, the zag back is 2. Then it's much easier to wind an even number of warp ends, but I'm winding an odd number, so I can either wind 1 extra or stop at the bottom. Yeah, I'm just gonna warp back to front just because, yeah, I'm more used to it now. So with warping back to front, that means that right after I'm done winding this, next step is to take it off the board, stick it on that on the back, and wind it on. Which is good because I just want to procrastinate on the threading order a bit more. Almost there. If I had a higher quality mic, this probably would be decent ASMR, but I don't, whatever. I'm really lucky to have access to a backyard all this time. Um, so the loom was my um, like impending quarantine secondhand impulse buy. Are those chicks?
Yeah.
Ah! All right, I'm almost done here. Ah! How many? Woo! So 2 chicks, 2 ducks?
Yeah.
Ah! All right, it's probably time for me to go. Yeah, let me just wrap this up. All right, time for me to go.